Welcome to my top 10 4Ks of the year for 2023. That's right, 2023. 2024 will be forthcoming. Okay, before we get into the top 10 proper, I have 5 runners up. This is me right there, by the way. Boop. So, quick note on the methodology. So, these top 10 are movies that I think are great looking and sounding 4Ks. They are also movies that I personally really enjoyed. So, there were some amazing looking 4Ks like MI Mission Impossible 7 or Guardians 3, but that I didn't love the movie as much, so they're not anywhere on any of this list. So, good looking 4Ks according to my eyes, and that I actually like them and would love watching them over and over. First honorable mention, Kubo and the Two Strings. This, and honestly, all these Leica 4Ks look so good. Like, mind-blowingly good. And the movies are great and entertaining. My kids have enjoyed all of them so far. I haven't showed them Coraline or this one. Well, they love box trolls, let's just say that. But anyway, Kubo, runner-up number 5. Runner-up number 4, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. This thing is so much fun and so incredibly repeatable. I haven't really met anybody who doesn't like this movie, and the 4K looks and sounds phenomenal, and all the special features are great. And total side note, that movie actually really got me back into D&D again. So I started another YouTube channel about being a noob DM. So that movie really just sparked me on a whole journey. So love that movie. Runner-up number 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So I love the first one of this, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and this was not as good as that for me, but the 4K is absolutely stunning, like mind-boggling. I think the only thing that keeps it out of my top 10 list, honestly, is that I just didn't like the movie as much as the first one. Runner-up number 2, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I absolutely love this movie. I think this is maybe the best Batman movie in existence, let alone the best animated one. But the 4K of here was awesome. Felt like I was watching a film of it. Runner-up number 1 is Cinderella on 4K. This movie might as well be called The Rats and Their Friend Cinderella, but on 4K, it was a complete revelation. It was completely, like, it was like watching it for the first time, like actually seeing the colors and the lighting and everything, how it's supposed to look. I was blown away by this. Incredible work by Disney, and I think a good sign of things to come. Also, a quick plug for Cinderella 3. If you haven't seen this movie, it is genuinely hilarious. Watch it. Skip the second one. Watch the third one. All right, another quick note before we get into the top 10. I just got this in Japan. I'm so excited. Is that this is my top 10 according to my eyes. I'm not a professional. There's definitely reviewers out there that do a lot more scientific stuff. But one thing I have done is I have watched a ton of 4Ks at this point. So this is my opinion, and I'm super curious to see how it lines up with what your favorites were for the year, for 2023. All right, number 10 on my list is a movie that I had thought about the concept of it as a youth long before the movie came out. And then when the movie came out, it was like, oh my gosh, it was so cool to see the idea of somebody watching and like your life as a TV show or hidden cameras or whatever, and that is The Truman Show on 4K. This is a phenomenal looking 4K, and also I think this movie is an absolute masterpiece among Jim Carrey's best, right up there with Sonic 3. This movie is incredible. I think it is timeless. I think imagining that someone's watching you has been different if you watch this movie in the late 90s versus if you watch this movie now, where people are putting a camera on themselves and putting it online for everybody to watch. So I just think it's absolutely timeless, beautiful, funny, dramatic, heartful movie. So number 10. Number 9 is actually part of a box set, one movie in the box set. But this is a movie that is part of a franchise, but that I could watch this movie all the time, and I think the movie stands very well on its own, but I also think it works so richly into the franchise and with what's come before, and that is Star Trek First Contact. That is Star Trek 8 on 4K. This thing was an absolute joy on 4K. It looked very filmic, and it sounded great, and it's just a movie that I can watch endlessly. I think it is so entertaining. So Star Trek First Contact. All right, number 8. This thing has actually moved around on my top 10 list quite a bit, as my feelings on it have changed and throughout the year. But number 8 is The Maltese Falcon. This thing, I know that some people might have problems with specific parts of this on 4K, but to me, this was an absolute joy watching this on 4K, and it was actually my first time seeing it, and it is now one of my favorites. So number 7, I absolutely swoon over this movie. This is just such a feel-good, amazing movie, and on 4K, and I'm gonna say this all the time, but it's just like watching it for the first time. It just looks absolutely wonderful, and this movie is such a feel-good movie, and to just see it in such 4K perfection is wonderful. Number 6 is actually a movie that really scares me a lot. It's not a slasher movie, but slasher movies don't really scare me. This kind of movie really gets under my skin. This is the Criterion 4K of The Others. I don't know if you can even read any of that. But this disc and special features and commentary are so good, and you have to kind of be in the mood for this movie, but it is the perfect creepy movie. This movie is masterfully crafted, and I think this 4K is really one of the better ones I've seen. I mentioned in my review that it looks like a 35mm film, so I was super impressed with this, and it didn't even have HDR on here, and the black levels were astounding. So let me know what you think of this one, if this kind of movie scares you, or if I'm just being a big baby. Number 5, John Wick Chapter 4. This chapter got a little bit more ridiculous compared to the other chapters, but what a dazzling 4K picture and sound. Just, you're watching it and I couldn't keep it off the top 10 list, let alone that it's just super fun and entertaining. So that one. Number 4, Avatar: The Way of Water on 4K. This is easily one of the best 4Ks I have ever seen. The first movie was pretty good as well, and I still haven't seen the Dolby Vision versions, but the HDR10 one is one of the best 4Ks I've seen. So I still need to open those other ones and try them out, but this one was so awesome. And one thing that I like about these movies is that they're just unapologetically themselves. They know their own lore, and it just progresses forward in its own way. And I might not agree with all of the decisions in the movie, but it just boldly is itself, and it really feels that way. I don't know if that makes sense, but this 4K, mind-blowing. Number 3 from 1993 is The Fugitive. I first saw this on VHS when I stole the VHS copy from my grandma's house from my uncle and took it home because it had Harrison Ford, and I love Harrison Ford. Always have as a child because he's Han Solo in Indiana Jones. So I have been watching this movie from an inappropriately early age. I did not even understand what was going on. I just appreciated the action and the drama. But this 4K is so detailed and so beautiful and so filmic, and this is just such a great movie. And every time I eat scrambled eggs with my bare hands, I think of this movie, like you do. All right, between number 1 and 2, honestly, I was back and forth, but for number 2, I had to go with Pinocchio on 4K, the Guillermo del Toro version from the Criterion Collection. This movie was so good and so fun and had so much heart, and the stop motion was so good and beautiful. But I showed my kids this movie. They still haven't seen the Disney Pinocchio. They've seen this one first, and they loved it, and I loved it. I think this thing is like infinitely repeatable. The music, I just always want to listen to it, and this set is like an absolute must buy. So number 2, even though this could totally be number 1 for the year, but Pinocchio on 4K. If you haven't seen this thing, you've got to do it. Okay, and number 1 is just an example of how a restoration should be done right, and it is an example of an absolute timeless beautiful, fun movie, and that is Snow White on 4K for my number one for the year. Just the restoration on this thing, and it's so perfect and timeless, and I enjoy this movie, and same with Cinderella, more and more every time I watch them. And growing up, I watched the Disney movies, and I would kind of avoid some of the ones I would consider like girly movies, right? But like, just I've just been enjoying them more and more with my kids, and this is just phenomenal. I cannot wait for more classic Disney restorations on 4K. So this is my choice for number one for the year. So I should have reviews up for pretty much all of these, so definitely go check them out. But what are your favorite 4Ks? And what were my hits and misses? So for 2023, and stay tuned for 2024 when I get around to it. Been a busy year. Thank you so much for watching, and as 2024 ends, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watches and comments. I genuinely appreciate you. It's so fun to be able to have movie discussions with you guys from afar, sometimes across oceans. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.